Fight and Talk back again, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Tommy Quinn. Just one day after the announcement came, he signed a multi-fight deal with KSW and ahead of his bout on March 19th, KSW 68 against Albert Odzimkowski. Tommy, how's things, man? Long time no speak.
Long time no speak, Jake. Good to hear from you, man. Good to hear from you.
How are things going? I mean, it's only a couple of weeks away now. The announcement's sort of late on in the day, but I bet you're delighted to be getting back in there.
I'm excited now and very excited to be back fighting. Even more excited to be fighting KSW. Anybody that's familiar with the show, you'll be more than familiar, obviously, with all the Northeast lads like Phil being and the heavyweight champion and that. But it's a spectacle. It's as close. I don't think this show's as big as what they have done previously. But it's the entrances and all. It's as close as Pride is what you're going to get. Do you know what I mean? It's a nice way to see off a career. Do you know what I mean? I'm signing that 4-fight deal with them. It gives me an opportunity to finish my career in a good show. Have a couple of very good experiences. Get the fight in Poland. Do you know what I mean? Never got to do that. A nice way to see the world, and like I said, fantastic experience and great opportunity. So more than excited.
As you mentioned there, it is a multi-fight deal. What was it for you that sort of swayed you to KSW for this one?
Just opportunity. I put a post on Instagram. It's been a couple of years now, almost 3 years this summer from I've been able to compete with COVID and chopping and changing countries, because I was obviously living in Newcastle for the best part of 13 years. And then I got offered a job COVID happened, so the gyms that weren't really open. And then when things were starting to get back into the swing of things, I got offered a job in Bali. One of my mates, Paddy Burt, one of my sponsors as well, he opened a gym out there. So we went out there to try and start coaching out there. But COVID obviously fucked the whole thing up. International travel to Bali, especially the Australian tourism, not being able to get in, sort of made the country very quiet. So on the second or third lockdown when I was there, I decided to come back over here, back to the north of Ireland. So I've been back here since July, and just getting things settled here. Started training quite a bit with a few of my friends, and then I put a post up not long before Christmas. I wouldn't mind getting back in the last couple of fights. And lucky enough, I heard from Alan that works for KSW. He bet and offered me he said, would you be interested in having your last few fights in KSW? I was like, aye, will I? He goes, if I can get you a contract, would you take it? I goes, of course. So then he came back to me after a while later saying, we've got this potential fight on March 19th. Will you take it? I was like, fucking sure.
Like you say, there it is. It's coming up 3 years for you being sort of out of the cage. How frustrating has that been? I know sort of things can't have been helped with COVID and that, but how frustrating has it been for you to not be able to be maybe as active as you wanted to be over the last 3 years?
I've been crippled with spells of activity and inactivity throughout my career with different commitments, injuries, just life gets in the way sometimes too. But lucky enough, I always had it where competing was something I liked to do. This wasn't meant to be my life. I didn't set out that I wanted to be a professional fighter. It's just, I fell into it really. I started training. I loved the training, lost weight, had my first fight, and then that was it. I was addicted from then. And then when I went to uni, me and Ryan Roddy moved over to England together. But just kept training really. And then once we graduated university, I didn't want to go to work. I was too content doing what I was doing and loved the crack with all my mates. We had one of the best teams in England and Europe, probably Europe at the time, fucking some big names. So if I didn't compete, I was just a bum. Do you know what I mean? I was just training for training's sake. It where competing gave me make it justified the training. Do you know what I mean? If I just did it, I was just dossing about, just training, where it's allowed me to just keep tallying up my CV so people could see, oh, here's my skill set, here's how good I actually am. And it allowed me to facilitate, keep coaching, you know. So it's provided a good life. But in terms of being super frustrated about not being able to compete this past couple of years, it is what it is. There's all the people in the same position, but like I said, competing wasn't a necessity for me. It's something I like to do. I don't have to do it 5-6 times a year like some people like to do. I like to do it as often as I can, and when I really feel like I can bog my head into it completely.
You mentioned as well, you and Ryan coming over here. Of course, NEVT days, it was the likes of you, Andrew Fisher, Alex Enland, all that sort of group. How mad is it now to sort of sit back and look and see where things are now? Like from how everybody in that group, I know when you share the photos, David Grant, Kurt Warburton in there as well. And when you sit back and look and see now, what, a decade or so on, how well everybody in that group's done.
Unbelievable, man. Like I said, we were such a good group of people. Like we all weren't from one gym. Like I said, we're NEVT. We were from loads of different gyms. We all just came together, and we all coached each other. Really, like at that time, a decade ago, there wasn't. We were learning MMA. The kids now are being taught MMA, but we were learning MMA. All right, we were the sort of the second generation. Like there's my coaches and the people before that, where they had nothing. Do you know what I mean? They were. The opportunity for them to make it is very, very slim. But when I started in Ireland, there was one black belt, which was John Kavanagh. Where, like, for example, of a beginner goes into the likes of SBG or Ryan Roddy's, any of the well-established gyms now, they're training with very, very, very experienced people. They're getting on the mat with multiple brown belts, black belts, purple belts. Do you know what I mean? So their knowledge and their coaching, the coaching they're getting absorbed is a lot higher quality. And the training partners are higher quality. So they're going to get better within half the time frame it took the likes of us. So like I said, it wasn't a polished product. But it's obviously still always going to adapt, but it's a lot more polished than what it was 10 years ago. But as you said, go back to the team, man, we had the who's who, and it was class. It was just it wasn't a job, it was the crack. Do you know what I mean? Like I said, that's what kept you more involved in it. The more serious, like the thing with fighting is once you decide that's going to be your career, that you sort of have to win. It takes the fun out of it. Like we were all just training and we all liked to have the fights, and then we were all doing well. And then when everyone else is doing well, if someone's fighting and winning, you're like, fuck, I need to get back in there. And then you have your fight, and then as soon as you're finished training, you're training someone else for theirs. It was just a crack. But it's great to see everybody doing so well. You know what I mean? We all put so much hard work into it. If we put the same effort, not just myself and the other boys, if anyone else has plugged themselves into doing this for a long spell of time, if you put the same effort into anything else, there's no way you could be successful. You can't half-ass this, especially at the very, very first stages of your career. You have to just bog yourself into it.
I know as well you then took on a coaching role at MTK Newcastle, as you just mentioned, out in Bali there as well. What did you find coaching added to your game as a mixed martial artist?
I think coaching breaks down. The thing with coaching is it makes you break down the technique, right? Everyone else can understand the technique or picks things up a different way. So, but in order for you to convey that to other students, you have to break the technique down and fully understand it. And the more you understand the technique and the more you can cover it, like I said, the more depth of your knowledge, the better it's going to make you. The more you're trying to going over these small little details, the more it's going to register in your head. If you're having to get that to not just one other person, it's easier on a one-to-one. But if you've got a class of 14, 20 people, to get that same message to all them people, you have to break it down a certain way, sort of simplify it a little bit. And then once they sort of get, some people, like you've been to the gym yourself, or anyone else has been to the gym, there's days you'll go in and there's a technique and you'll drill it 3, 4, 5, 10 times, you'll boom, straight away. And then there's days you're sat there and you're drilling the same fucking thing, and you're looking at your coach, or you're looking at your training partners to say, man, I can't get this fucking thing. Do you know what I mean? You feel stupid. But coaching certainly helps you understand the technique more. And like I said, the more depth your knowledge is, the better it's going to make you. You can't not.
If we look forward then to March 19th, about on the day of recording, about 15 days away, just over 2 weeks away, what do you make of Albert? Have you seen much footage on him? I know he's on a bit of a skid, so no doubt he'll be very, very keen to get himself back to winning weight. And what do you make of the fight just as a whole?
I'm excited about the fight. Like from what I've seen, he seems to be more a decorated grappler, but he's a big, strong lad. He's in the same position as myself, where there's probably a pure chew for him to make welterweight later on in his career. I could make welterweight again. Like I'm not a big middleweight. I'm another size middleweight, but for me to push to 77 kilograms, especially for the fight purses we're getting super, super, super well paid, then I could maybe be justified. But for me to make 77 kilograms, it takes a big shine of quality out of your life. And it'll be the same for him, where middleweight sort of suits us as a good matchup for the pair of us. Like I said, he seems to be more decorated grappler, everyone seems to see me as a striker because it's what I tend to do in my fights. Not that I'm not accomplished. I'm a BJJ brown belt. I'm a decorated enough wrestler because I like to be able to keep it standing so I can obviously make it as entertaining or the fight I want to fight. But I'm very excited to get back in here with the likes of Albert. I obviously said he's had 3 fight losing streak. That's happened to me in my career. Doesn't mean you're a bad fighter. It's just some nights it hasn't went your way. Like I said, people don't think of the little things that go on. Like there's many a day you'll wake up, you might have had the hardest training session the day before, and you wake up the next day and you're still full of beans. You feel mint, like, oh, that was class. And then there's one day you'll do next to nothing and you'll wake up and you just feel like a bag of dicks. You just feel not gonna happen your fight day. I mean, you could just wake up that day and just be like, fuck, there's anything else I'd rather be at the fight day. But then there's some of the fight days you're just like, right, fuck, mint. I'd rather be nowhere else. You know what I mean? So you can just, that 3-fight losing streak doesn't mean much. Like I said, there could be the driving force he needs to maybe do a little bit more training. It could also head them the other way where it's, like I said, I could put a bit of doubt in his head thinking, fucking hell, am I as good as what I was? Do you know what I mean? You don't know what way that affects people until they get back in there themselves. Do you know what I mean? So he'll be going in there to try and prove again to himself how good he is. Do you know what I mean? But also, I know he'll have a little bit of doubt in his head. But it's, again, you shouldn't have that doubt. He's not fighting bad opposition. You know what I mean? You can, if fair enough if he was going in and he was losing to poor opposition, then he could maybe doubt yourself. Same with myself. I know I beat myself up when I had the 3-fight losing streak. I lost to Lulong, which was a mint fight. I lost to Matt Inman, which was a class fight, and the only disaster I had was against Lee Chadwick. But like, the more I look back on the first 2 fights, I couldn't give 2 fucks. They were 2 losses and them two of my most favorite fights because everybody else said how fucking good they were. But you still look back and think, fucking hell, I lost them. Do you know what I mean? So that's where he could be at. I don't know where he could be, still feeling the top of the world, but come March 19th, I'm the one that's going to have to find out what Albert turns up, and he's going to have to find out what Tommy Quinn turns up. And hopefully 2 of us turn up in top form and we'll put on a good fight for the fans. Well, fans. I don't fucking have fans. For the people that's in the arena. Do you know what I mean? People don't give a 2 shits about me no more. No one knows me in Ireland, for fuck's sake. I come up here and people are like, oh, you trained before, man? I was like, I believe it or not, I have.
With that though, Tommy, like, I mean, you are one of the sort of Northeast, like, originals, if you like, from this generation that's come up through the ranks. Like you mentioned there, you fought the who's who in Britain. How nice is it now for you then to sit back in? I know you've still got this 4-fight deal, but to reflect so far on how far you've came in the sport, what you've done in the sport, and who you fought.
Oh man, like I said, my life wouldn't have existed if it wasn't for fighting. I wouldn't have been a fat gimp sat here in Ireland, not knowing what the fuck I would have done. The experiences I've had through fighting alone, like, it hasn't made me a rich man. It's allowed me to facilitate a very comfortable lifestyle, a very fun lifestyle, introduced me to all my best friends, and it's gotten me all over the world. And through the different people I've met, they've given me different experiences. Like, for example, Ross Pearson, for example, I'll thank that man to the day I die, because I got to experience some of the best moments of my life. Flew me to Australia a couple of times. I've cornered him in the UFC a few times. Like, I was backstage in Australia, fucking in the warm-up area before Mark Hunt goes out to knock out Frank Mir. And all he did was just sat in the fucking stool watching the fights all day until they announced the fight. And like, I was just thinking, what a fucking badass. You know what I mean? Just for me to be there and be in the fucking warm-up area with Mark Hunt, that's cool as fuck for me. Do you know what I mean? So, like I said, it hasn't made me financially rich, but experience and fucking stories to tell and to live and to pass on. I'll forever be grateful to this job.
Something you mentioned in just your second last answer there was about the weight cut, and obviously instead of fighting it fighting in middleweight. How much of an issue do you think weight cutting is in the sport? And do you think there's anything that can be done to lessen the damage, I guess, it's causing to some fighters when they are dehydrating themselves to absolute bits before a fight?
To answer is staring everybody in the face, more weight calories. More fucking weight calories. It should be like boxing. Like, it's better for the sport, much better for the sport, better for the athletes. One, if you look at the athletes, like I said, that makes himself and Albert, I'm sure he's the same. The cut the welterweight just became too much, especially for the financial gain and what it takes out of the quality of your life. For the likes of myself, I can make 81 kilograms with that. 81. So, or I could make 81, I could make 83, I could make 87. So they would probably be my limits, right? Because anything after that, they'll all be fucking huge people cutting from 100+ kilo to 87, killing themselves still. People will always be at that trying to get a competitive edge. So you'll not stop that unless they do what they do in one with the hydration testing. That's the only way. That's the only way. But whether they'll ever employ that in these other organizations, I don't know. So, like I said, they need to put more weight categories on because, again, entertainment, you have more multiple weight champions, you have more opportunity of super fights. Do you know what I mean? So you could have the likes of, say, I would say the likes of Adesanya could probably make 81 kilograms. Do you know what I mean? You could have him fight 81, 84, 87, and still he went up to challenge Jan at 93. There's 4 weight categories you compete in. I know it's not good because if you had a 4-weight world champion, they're not defending all the belts at the same time. That's only ball ache. And especially MMA, it's not like boxing where boxing you can go in and get the head fucking tanked off you for 12 rounds. Hold on. Hello? Sorry about that phone call. But an MMA, you have so much to cover. Your body's taking so much breakdown and damage over a full fight camp. Fair enough, you can go in and have not all fight camps are the same, you take the same wear and tear, but generally, coming the end of a fight camp, or certainly coming the end of a tough fight, you want a fucking good break. Your body needs that break. So to be able to defend 4 titles, it wouldn't be plausible. That's where I think the likes of Amanda Nunes there, Joe Rogan, and that was slating her for fitness, where she should be super fit when she's the double weight world champion. But our sport's not seasonal. She's having to cut weight. If she was to fight 4 times, she's having to cut weight 4 times for them different weight categories. 2 of them would be more extreme than the other because one weight category is a lot easier for her to make than the other. And then she's also got the train full time to be able to do that. So your body's not getting a break. So no wonder she'd have probably burnt out that last fight. She's probably sick to death of training, but she's obligated because she's the double weight world champion. Well, she was.
Finally, before you go, for fight fans who may not have seen you before, what can they expect from a roly-poly kid performance? And can I get a prediction up for you for how you see the fight going, please?
No point me giving predictions, man. My fight career, I've always wanted to go in and fucking, I would love to be able to just knock people out with fucking one big, I don't have that. Most of my fights have been fucking 15-minute ding dust, so I'm ready for a 15-minute fucking ding dust, you know what I mean? So I'm not giving any predictions, but I just, like I said, it's the final stages of my career. I want to go out and enjoy myself. That's the biggest factor in this fight for me. I put in stages of career, I really enjoyed it. Sometimes I put too much pressure on it. This time, no pressure on me. I'm going in to enjoy myself in Poland, take the full thing in, and hopefully make a good show of myself.
Perfect. Tommy, thank you very much. I know you've been very busy, so thanks very much for your time, mate, and we'll catch up soon.
No worries, Jacob. Take it easy, man. Good to hear from you.
Thank you.
All the best, man.